Hello my friends, welcome back to the Existential Vegan, X here. Nice to see all of you again. I had such a good time writing this video. I was out on the deck, and in the background the birds were singing and chirping, as if to say, don't forget to say this, don't forget to say that. One of my favorite songs is the Logical Song by Supertramp. In it, songwriter Roger Hodgson remembers how carefree life was before he was sent off to boarding school. He recalls, "And the birds in the trees, they'd be singing so happily, oh joyfully, oh playfully, watching me." I suspect those birds were telling Roger, never lose this innocence and sense of wonder you now have. I had the pleasure of meeting Roger once, and I commented, all your songs, they seem to be about God in one way or the other. And he just simply smiled at me and nodded his head in affirmation. The sages have long been fascinated by birds. In a Tibetan poem, the writer recounts the story of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, who takes the form of a cuckoo, king of the birds. The cuckoo explains to the parrot, who is skilled at speech, and all the other birds, that wealth and position, indeed, much of what we commonly hold dear, are illusions, transitory, without substance. They are like castles in the air. When the birds heard this truth, this Dharma, the parrot, the golden goose, the raven, and all the domestic birds danced together in the air, singing their songs of joy. Much like the birds who heard St. Francis preach. St. Francis loved all animals, but he loved birds in particular, calling them his sweet little sisters. He would often share his meals with them in the forest, and the birds loved him back. They would gather in the nearby trees to hear him preach. Some would land on his arms and shoulders and translate his message of God's love, peace, and the interconnectedness of all things. And of course, they would sing for Francis, and when they sang, Francis heard songs of praise. Throughout the 1900s, the gentle ascetic Indian sage J. Krishnamurti noticed that the birds didn't sit around in constant fear of death. They were too busy being fully alive. In fact, the birds would teach us that life and death are not polar opposites. They are an ongoing process, woven together moment by moment. Like the lessons learned by the birds of Tibet, letting go of name, fame, and fortune, even the sense of self, frees us to live fully. When asked, what is death, Krishnaji answered, "You have seen the birds singing in the trees. Yet the next day they may be gone. But they are okay meeting death, because today they are fully alive." Similarly, should we not die to our accumulations, attachments, our fears? To the man who is constantly dying, there is no death. But the man who says, "I am somebody, and I must continue," for him there is always death and the burning ghat, and that man knows no love. My humanistic psychology professor and poet, Dr. Havelka, used to say something similar. One way you can tell that you're growing spiritually, he would say, is that your fear of death diminishes. And then there was Jesus, who looked at the birds and saw the very nature, the very character of God. Often using the metaphor of Father, he saw a loving God. Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, yet your Father in heaven takes care of them. How much more will he take care of you? And on another occasion, Jesus said, not a single sparrow falls to the ground without your Father in heaven knowing. How much more does he love you? The birds don't worry, Jesus would say. You don't need to worry either. Don't focus on the impermanent. Sounding much like what today we would call the law of attraction. 2,000 years ago, Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. The next time you hear a bird singing, listen carefully. The song she sings, the wisdom she has to share, may already be hidden in the quiet places of your heart. Thanks for watching, my friends, and remember, life is more than food.